The Great Human Migration was a time of vast movement and long-distance travel for humans who were beginning to explore other continents. Most humans followed the animals they hunted across the continents, often moving toward wet climates with lakes and fertile lands. The Ice Age pushed humans toward warmer regions and connected the continents through land bridges that were uncovered as sea levels lowered. Humans traveled from Africa until they reached every continent except Antarctica. It took roughly 100,000 years. Art was one form of communication for the nomadic Paleolithic people, and it was probably used for telling stories and sharing myths. Sometimes hunting strategies were drawn on the walls of a cave. Stone lamp filled with animal fat would light the coves while the Paleolithic people painted. Animal fat was also used to make paint. Artists mixed it with various mineral ores to create red, yellow, and blacks for their work.
Artists would use their fingers, sticks, and leaves to draw on the walls of the caves, or they would blow paint through hollow reeds. Sometimes they left handprints, maybe as a signature. Most cave paintings show animals during a hunt, and some anthropologists think the paintings were created as rituals to ensure a good hunt. During the Great Human Migration, humans looked for new, warmer regions with fertile soil to grow their own food and settle down. Early humans were nomads moving from place to place, but the development of systematic agriculture in the Neolithic era marked change to a more sedentary lifestyle for most humans. The Neolithic Revolution was a fundamental change in the way many humans lived. Humans could now keep animals and grow food on a regular basis with recurring and more reliable harvests. About 9,000 years ago, farmers started planting staple crops people would rely on most for food. Many crops were important in ancient religion and creation stories. Early farmers discovered that grinding grains makes flour, which can be used to make bread. People figured out where soil was fertile, where plants would grow better. Areas with long springs and summer were popular farming sites. Since their climate helped crop thrive, lakes and rivers were good places to settle too, because they had water and provided an extra source of nutrition through fish and other seafood. When planting crops, farmers chose seeds from the biggest, best-looking, best-tasting plants. Then they would repeat that the next time. Slowly but surely, each harvest would bring up a better, stronger, tastier round of crops. This process is called the domestication of plants. This was a huge leap forward. Some might even say revolutionary. The development of sedentary communities. Animal domestication began when humans tamed wild animals like sheep, goats, and pigs for meat, milk, and wool. Most likely, the dog was one of the first animal to be domesticated, helping humans hunt larger animals long before humans settled down. In some parts of the world, bigger animals were domesticated. In India, for example, wild elephants were tamed. Farming techniques like irrigation system were also crucial for setting early communities. Irrigation systems were a series of canals built to bring water to the land. Because sedentary communities grew their own food, they often ended up with a surplus or more than was needed. A food surplus could feed many more people, so communities could expand and didn't have to follow herds around. The early villages. As more people lived around farms and food surpluses increased, people started to have free time to work on projects that didn't involve just finding or growing food. This led to more division of labor, people specializing in different roles within a society. People started to be artisans, workers skilled in a particular craft. They made baskets, tools, pottery, or fabric. Metal tools made from copper and then from bronze become more sophisticated. Iron was later used to make strong, durable tools. The wheel was also invented around this time. Like fire, the wheel changed everything. With so many new goods, people started to buy and sell what they had made. Merchant ships began traveling across seas and rivers to trade goods. Trading with others meant that new technology and farming techniques could be exchanged among cultures. Goods could be bartered, which means that they were exchanged without money. Early government. Government eventually formed to regulate trade and other aspects of human activity in these new villages. Villages grew into towns and cities which sometimes had walls for protection. Villages were probably led by the chiefs of the clans or tribes groups of families who lived together. Monarchs, kings and queens, likely led large groups of cities or groups of tribes. Their job was to keep the kingdom in order through lawmaking. Many monarchs claimed to have power based on divine the right to rule granted by their deity or deities. Societies began dividing according to social class, grouping of people ranked by social status. Kings and queens were at the top, with priests and religious authorities beneath them. Next in line were government and military officials, who started it all, were ironically lower still. And finally, some societies had enslaved people, treating them as though they were property. Enslaved people were positioned at the bottom of the social order. King and queen priest government and military merchants and traders, farmers enslaved people,